college classic. Did you say college classic campuses? We'll show you to guess what we're reading. You see what we're reading here? Frederick Douglass. Yes, we are. Why not? We're reading The Decision. And we're finishing up. We got really sidetracked here. Somebody has been either breaking into the mobile home park, or somebody here is going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And what they're doing is they're vandalizing cars and vehicles and houses around here. Even one of the ladies here had her house broken into. And it's really sad, some of the stuff that's going on here. And I live in an elderly park, and I'm really... it's very dangerous here. It's dangerous here. It's crazy. But we're reading Fredrick left Baltimore. My motorcycle, I just had it fixed about 6 to 8 months ago. It's going to have to be fixed again. They took the crankshaft, undid it. It got stuck on the engine, causing the engine to overload and over idle, and it blew up and blew out the oil casing, and the chain flew off. I was on the bike while it did it. I had to call the police and the insurance company. This park is very wild. There's some wild people in here, and they're doing wild things. So Fredrick left Baltimore and went to live with Thomas Auld at St. Michael's in March 1833. 15 years old and having been absent for 7 years, Thomas had remarried after Lucretia's death, and Fredrick discovered that Master Thomas and his new wife, Rowena, matched each other in cruelty and stinginess. For the first time since age 8, he was experiencing constant hunger pangs, and this was the height of cruelty. Most slaveholders fed their slaves coarse food, but saw to it that there was enough of whatever it was. The poor slaves in the kitchen, Fredrick, his sister Alicia, his aunt Priscilla, and a cripple named Henny, were given half a bushel of cornmeal per week and little else. They had to beg and steal from neighbors or wherever and however they could. Often while food was spoiling and getting moldy in the smokehouse of the Aulds, to vent their helpless anger and bitterness, Fredrick and his sister Alicia became allies, smartly finding ways to frustrate especially Rowena Auld at every turn. Being treated like dumb animals, they became very good at disremembering whatever they had been told. Lucretia's daughter Amanda, about 7 years old and frequently mistreated by her stepmother, would cover for them if she could. In August of that same year, Captain Auld had attended a Methodist meeting and experienced religion for a moment. His slaves nurtured a faint hope that this would make him more humane. Not so. If anything, he became more cruel and hateful, morning, noon, and night. He and his wife kneeled in pious prayers. He invited preachers to the house, stuffing them with food, while his slaves standing behind the chairs, never receiving a smile from the churchly men, suffered from searing hunger. You know, this is funny because today we're witnessing this right in America. We're witnessing Europeans, and we're witnessing Mideasterns, and we're witnessing Central Americans coming into America. And the last thing they want to do is share anything with anybody. And it's funny because the Mideasterns are not Christians. They're Muslims and Islamics, and mostly Islamic because the Muslims are very generous. But the Islamics are very cruel, and they're very tempestuous. And with the Europeans, they're Islamic or Christian, and they too are very cruel, and they charge high prices for the housing. When they own a house, they'll charge $3,000 to $2,200 of rent a month, and they charge Section 8 to the government. Then you have to pay the rest. So you still got to pay $800 out of your pocket in regards to the $800 or $1,200 the government might be paying. It's very, very cruel people. And then the ones coming from Central America, they want everybody's job. They don't care. It's dog eat dog. It's very funny, and this kind of reminds me of those days. We're re-experiencing those days all over again. And so, here we go. A young, devout white man named Wilson proposed Sunday school for the slaves in the area to teach them the New Testament, and having heard that Fredrick could read, asked him to resist. Fredrick embraced the proposal eagerly, and about 20 slaves showed up for the first session. Already at the second meeting, however, a horde of whites led by Fredrick's master Thomas and two other Methodist leaders drove them off with sticks and stones, forbidding them to ever meet again. Fredrick, who had shown most enthusiasm, was warned that he could end up with as many bullets in his body as Nat Turner, the slave who had led the bloody insurrection in Virginia in 1831. Also, they're threatening again. I know you're a slave. I know about all that stuff, your freedom and all that. But I kill you. I kill you inward. Nigga, I kill you. This is bad. These guys are bad. That's kind of like when you go to Central West. Yo, nigga, come here. What do you mean? See, the difference between nigger and nigga is they spell it different. N-I-G-G-E-R is nigger, and nigga and niggas is N-I-G-G-A-Z or N-I-G-G-A, nigga. That's gangsta, you know. Did I say gangsta? Yeah, I said gangsta. So anyway, Fredrick kept listening and observing. The crippled slave woman Henny had fallen into the fire as a child and was terribly burned. Her hands were almost useless. All she was good for was carrying heavy burdens. This girl irritated the master no end, and he used to keep her tied up for hours, returning every so often to beat her until her back and shoulders were raw, often quoting the scriptures while swinging the whip. Fredrick, whose eyes flashed defiance, and the hard master did not get along, to say the least. The latter insisted that easy city life. I want to show you a picture. Easy city life with his brother's family had spoiled the boy, and in order to break him, he rented him out for 1 year to Brother Covey. As Brother Thomas called him, a poor and supposedly pious man, who rid both his farms and his farmhands. He had a reputation for breaking headstrong slaves and could therefore get healthy young workers for little money. Now, this is College Classic Campus Hits. I'm T.C. Barra. We're reading a very good book here, and I'm enjoying it. Frederick Douglass. Now, this is a high school book that you read in high school, and they get to question you on, some even junior high. Today, we're reading it because we want to share it with one another, because we're studying slavery in the last days, because Revelation 18 and Revelation 17 shows us that the prostitute enacts slavery upon the 7 golden candlesticks.